We should sort of know.
We've been in our unit for just a very short period of time, and I've already kind of noticed that it would be really important for us. Can you scoot up just a little bit to make some room for people? Brady, could you scoot up a little bit? And Carol, come on over here, because you're not going to be able to see. I have a seat right there on the floor. Federico, can you see where you're sitting? All right. One of the things I've noticed as I've been watching you, especially when you're encountering a text set and you're preparing for an essay, or when you're reading nonfiction to try to determine what is important or identify main ideas, like we did in our post-reading test for our unit of study on reading history, a lot of you are having a hard time identifying the difference between main ideas and details, and some of you are really even confusing what a main idea and a theme is. Now, themes typically are only found in fictional works. Sometimes you can detect a theme in a biography, or a narrative nonfiction might also try to give a theme. But typically there's not a theme. We don't really refer to themes when we're talking about nonfiction. We refer to main ideas. Okay, so today I want to kind of show you something new that I found when I was doing a little bit of research. It's called mind mapping. And I'm hoping that maybe if we start to use, Adrian, mind mapping as we're reading nonfiction, it will help us to stay focused on main ideas and details, and we might even be able to apply this to our essay writing. When we're encountering a text set and we're trying to determine what could be a main idea that I could use in my essay. What could be some details that I could use to support my main idea? Okay, so what I'd like you to do during this mini lesson is to go ahead and create the same mind map that I'm creating on the board. Create that same one in your notebook. Now, you will probably use both sides of your paper. So if you feel like you're running out of room, you can use both sides. Okay, so the idea, first of all, is to write in the middle of your mind map what you're going to be learning about. And today, my focus is going to be reading information to you about tornadoes. Okay, and so you can put the word in the middle. You can put it in a container if you want, like we do when we're sketchnoting. You can also, if you're artistic, you could draw a picture. I am not artistic at all, so I would tend not to draw a picture, but I might draw some symbols, or I might just make some notes, abbreviations, just to help me to remember. And why we do that is because then you can kind of find the information you're looking for if your mind map gets really crowded. Now, when we read nonfiction, we are reading to learn something. It's very different from reading fiction. When you read fiction, you want to get lost in the book. You want to get caught up in the storyline. You want to be thinking and inferring, and you want to be reading characters, all of those things. But when we're reading nonfiction, we're really looking to learn something. And we're looking to take what we already know about a subject, if we know about it, and add to what we already know. We're trying to find connections between information. What we know, what I'm learning new. What I learned in this first text, what I learned in this next text, what I learned when I watched this video. So the idea here is to try to connect or integrate information across different texts. And I actually noticed also too, and some of you wrote, I remember, I think Aiden, where's Aiden? Here she is. Okay, Aiden wrote on her test that I guess they're referring to the video as the text. And I will tell you that right now, currently, it is considered text. It's visual text. You can also have audio text if you're listening to a recording. So visual text and audio text are still considered text. Okay? So don't let that confuse you if they talk to you about text and you say, but this is a video. It is. It's still text. Okay? All right, so let me show you what I'm talking about when we're reading. We're reading differently, okay? I've got this, I've marked a spot here in our book that we've been reading that just focuses on tornadoes. Okay? And as I'm reading this first section, just listen carefully. It says twisting tornadoes. Tornadoes have many names, including whirlwinds and twisters. These high-speed spiraling winds leave a trail of destruction and are a bit of a mystery. They seem to develop at the base of thunderclouds as warm, moist air rises and passes through colder air. This draws winds that are already circulating in the storm into a high-speed whirl. The pressure at a tornado's center is lower than at its edges, creating a funnel that sucks up everything in its path. Okay, so when I first read that, okay, it's kind of hard in a way to decide what is important here and what exactly is the main idea. Because the paragraph starts off by saying tornadoes have many names including whirlwinds and twisters. Now, if I'm trying to learn information about tornadoes, okay, whirlwinds and twisters, that's not new information to me, first of all. And I don't think it's going to be especially important for me to write a report or write an essay on the different names of tornadoes. And as I continue to read, the author seems to move away from that and to start focusing on one specific thing. It says, these high-speed spiraling winds leave a trail of destruction and are a bit of a mystery. Again, really not giving me any information that I can add to what I already know. They seem to develop at the base of thunderclouds as warm, moist air rises and passes through colder air. All right, so I'm kind of getting the feeling here by reading this that the author is going to be talking about how tornadoes develop. Listen to that sentence again. They seem to develop at the base of thunderclouds as warm, moist air rises and passes through colder air. All right, let me read on. This draws winds that are already circulating in the storm into a high-speed whirl. The pressure at the tornado center is lower than it is at the edges, creating a funnel that sucks up everything in its path. Okay, so I'm thinking to myself, this author, the main idea for this section, from this author, is the development of a tornado. How a tornado develops. Okay, so from my mind map, I'm going to just make a line, and I'm going to write that, how a tornado develops. Because that is a main idea. Notice, I think I'm going to put my main ideas in a circle. Remember when we learned about sketchnoting, we first learned about how you can give your words containers, and that if you put similar things in similar shaped containers, you can tell that they kind of go together. Okay, so if I look at this and I say how a tornado develops, and then I'm looking and it says, let's see, they seem to develop at the base of thunderclouds. Okay, I think that's important. Base of thunderclouds. That's where. That's my where they develop. I'm going to put that in an oval. That's a detail. And I'm actually going to change this because now I'm thinking it's not just going to talk about how. It's going to talk about tornado development. And remember that as we read, we continually revise our thinking. That's what a good reader does. They change their thinking. They don't hold really tight to an idea, but they allow the text that they're reading to change that idea as they read more, as they read on. Okay? So the next part, that's a detail, talks about warm, moist air. Rises. Okay, so I'm putting a little bit of a symbol of a rising arrow there. And passes through colder air. So I'm going to have my cold air. It's passing through cold air. It's going up through the colder air. This draws winds that are already circulating in the storm into a high-speed whirl. So winds, whirl. Okay, now notice how I'm kind of putting these in kind of an order because the way that the author is presenting the information is step by step what happens when it develops. So I want to follow that structure. When you're explaining a process, it's important for you to follow the steps in the process. If I jumped all over the place, it would be very confusing. You wouldn't know where to start. Okay, so this again goes in another bigger oval. And then we talk about the pressure. Remember, we talked before about atmospheric pressure. That's what they're referring to. The pressure at a tornado's center is lower than at its edges, creating a funnel that sucks up everything. So if I was going to draw this, I would want to create a funnel. Okay? And the pressure, when I talk about the pressure, it says that the pressure at the tornado's center is low, and then we have high. Now, all of these details go along with tornado development. So our mind map is focused on tornadoes, but we've talked about the main idea of how a tornado develops, or the development of tornadoes. Tornadoes tend to develop at the base of thunderclouds. They develop when warm, moist air rises and passes through the cold air. The winds begin to whirl. The pressure is lower in the center of this whirl and higher on the outside, which creates that funnel. Creates that funnel that sucks everything up inside. So the trees and the pieces of the houses get sucked up into the tornadoes. Okay, so can you see how I've taken what I just read? I've identified a main idea. I've identified the important details that I need to include in my mind map. So now if I was going to go back and say, for example, I was writing an explanatory essay. Explanatory essays are essays that explain something. And my prompt was, write an essay that explains how, or that explains tornadoes. This could be one of my main ideas. This could be one of my body paragraphs. I could talk about how a tornado develops, and these would be the details that I would include in my paragraph to support that main idea, to explain it. Okay? Now, if you read your text set with this in mind, creating a mind map perhaps, I'm thinking on the back of your planning sheet, then maybe you could go back to that and pick things off of that mind map that would help you to write your essay. This is going to become important to you later on this week when we take our test. Okay, so let's take a look at the next page. I want you to listen carefully. This page actually goes this way. I'm going to read this first of all, and while I'm reading it, I want you to see if you can identify a main idea. And once you think you've found the main idea for this page, I want you to give me a thumbs up. It says, tornado force. The swirling winds of a tornado are among the most destructive forces in nature, with speeds of up to 300 miles per hour. A violent tornado will destroy everything in its path. Most of the world's destructive tornadoes occur during summer in the American Midwest, where cold air from Canada in the north sits atop warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico to the south. This region is often called Tornado Alley. Predicting where and when tornadoes will occur is extremely difficult. Okay, Carter, you have your thumb up. What do you think? What do you think might be the main idea?
I think it's like where all the tornadoes are occurring.
Okay.
Like where it's happening.
It's like where it would be located. Okay. What do you think, Terry?
I think that it's how
because they did have a detail in there about the speeds of a tornado. So they talked about speeds of the wind. They also talked about where they occur. What do you think, Oliver?
I think it's about predicting where powerful tornadoes are.
You think it's about predicting where powerful tornadoes are? What do you think, Adrian?
The forces of a tornado.
Say it again.
The forces of a tornado.
Okay, the forces. Now, it does begin by talking about forces, okay? And it talks about speed, and then it talks about destruction, okay? But then it also talks about where they occur, and it talks about something called Tornado Alley, and then it ends with a sentence about predicting them. But does it talk about predicting them anywhere else?
No.
Okay, so we probably can think about that and wonder if there are no details there, then it can't really be the main idea. All right, so it seems like it's hard a little bit to figure out what the main idea is here. So let's take a look at some of the pictures that they have here. They have a picture with a map of where Tornado Alley is. So that goes with the idea that they're talking about where tornadoes occur. Then it has storm chasers, and it has mysterious circles that might be caused by a tornado, strange tales about chickens. It talks about the destruction, the vortex, okay, and what kind of destruction it can cause. It shows a picture here. These are actually blinds, like the blinds we have in our, and see how they get all twisted up from a tornado coming through. This is a picture of the roof being taken off of a church from a tornado when the people were actually inside of it. And this is a picture of what has happened to a car. What has happened to a car. All right, so thinking about the pictures. Okay, stop for a second. Thinking about the pictures. What do you think might be the main idea for this page? What do you think? Sawyer?
Destruction happened.
Okay, destruction. Would you say destruction would probably be a really good main idea because that's what it talks about. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and let's go ahead and make a circle here. Destruction. Destruction. And we're going to go ahead and draw that to our box, tornadoes. Okay, so what kinds of details would you include when you talk about the destructive forces or the destruction of tornadoes? What are some of the things that you could include? Listen carefully. I'm going to reread this and see if you can come up with a detail. Give me a thumbs up if you have a detail that you hear. The swirling winds of a tornado are among the most destructive forces in nature. Okay, I see a lot of thumbs up, but what is the detail that you heard? Remember, a detail is supposed to be specific. What did you hear, Oliver?
Tornadoes are one of the most destructive forces.
But that's our main idea. Okay? Okay, so remember, a detail is small and it is specific. Small and specific. Main ideas are slightly larger. Okay? All right, so listen carefully. With speeds of up to 300 miles per hour, a violent tornado will destroy everything in its path. Okay? Adrian? What's so specific about that? I heard something else, though. Did you catch it, Carson?
Oh, wind speed.
Carson?
The wind speed goes with destruction.
Okay, it does. Did you hear what it said specifically?
It destroys everything in its.
No, did you hear what it said, Didiana?
Speed goes up to like.
Okay, so here's one. Wind speed up to 300 miles per hour. Okay? That is a detail that goes with destruction. A violent tornado will destroy everything in its path. Most of the world's destructive tornadoes occur during summer in the American Midwest, where cold air from Canada in the north sits atop warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico to the south. This region is often called Tornado Alley. Okay, who has heard us another detail we can add? Terry?
You can add in the detail where tornadoes are the strongest.
Okay, so you could say, well, what about when? Did anybody hear when? When? Oh, Sawyer? Summer. And where?
Tornado Alley. No. In Canada.
In Canada. All right, so let's okay, so stop for a second. Okay, we might be kind of discovering a little bit of a problem here. Now, I am reading this out loud, and you don't have the text in front of you, but listen carefully. Most of the world's destructive tornadoes occur during summer, which we got, in the American Midwest. Okay, what is the other name of that we heard? Carter? Okay, so it's in the Midwest, Tornado Alley. So the when and the where. Midwest, Tornado Alley. And in the summer. Now, what happens though when we get over here? It says where cold air from Canada in the north sits atop warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico in the south. Think about that detail for a second. Where would you put that? Where would you put that detail? Mariah. Yeah, where would you put that? Would you put it with destruction? Where would you put it? In development. So notice that this detail that's in here, it's standing out to us because it has something to do with development. Now it says here, cold air from Canada. Can we add this right here? Colder air from Canada. You see how I just did that?
Yes.
Okay, and where did the warm air come from? Where did the warm, moist air come from? Olivia?
Midwest.
Not the Midwest. Who heard it? Federico?
Gulf.
The Gulf of Mexico. Can I put that up here? Absolutely. Okay, and it just goes on to say this region is often called Tornado Alley, which we already have. Predicting where and when tornadoes will occur is extremely difficult. Now, below this is a picture and a map of Tornado Alley, and it talks about the fact that Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri are the states in which Tornado Alley is, okay? So we can put Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. That's Tornado Alley. It was capitalized. It's just a little bit difficult to write quickly on the board, but I will fix it so that there's no confusion. Okay, so what we're going to be doing over the next several days and during our work period is we are going to be working to mind map what we are reading so that we can make it easier for us to identify main ideas and place supporting details to the proper main idea so that we can be thinking and learning new information and organizing it in such a way that it makes sense to us and that we could use it to write a report, to create an essay, to teach somebody else about what we've learned. All right, any questions about mind mapping? Okay, you could go ahead and take your notebooks with you and your pencils and return to your seats. check with Mrs. Bartley and find out if that's what she needs you to do.